Something happened to your Doritos bag. Not the price. The price is fine, same as it was. But the bag, it's lighter. There's more air in it than there used to be, and the chips are sitting lower. You noticed. You probably said nothing. You bought them anyway. Here's what the company knew before you walked into that supermarket. You'd notice the bag before you'd notice the weight. And that knowledge, that specific, researched, deliberately applied knowledge, is the entire foundation of a pricing strategy now quietly embedded in thousands of products on every shelf in every store you've ever been in.
It's called shrinkflation, and it is not new. The word exists because economists needed to describe something that didn't fit cleanly into standard inflation data. A price increase shows up in the numbers. A size reduction doesn't. Not immediately. Not obviously. Not in a way that trips any automatic alarm. The price per ounce goes up, the sticker price stays the same. The consumer pays more, and the official inflation figure barely moves. This has been happening quietly since at least the 1970s, but the post-pandemic period accelerated it into something with no real precedent. Between 2019 and 2024, food prices rose by over 30% in the US. Companies needed to recover costs. They had two options: raise the price and watch consumers switch brands, flood social media, and complain loudly enough to end up in a congressional hearing. Or quietly take two chips out of the bag. The math on which option they chose is not complicated.
Let's get specific, because the specifics are what make this uncomfortable. Doritos. In 2021, the standard bag went from 9.75 ounces to 9.25 ounces. Half an ounce. You probably didn't weigh it. Most people don't. Folgers coffee. The 51-ounce container became a 43.5-ounce container. Same red lid, same label, same shelf position. About 15% less coffee. Cottonelle toilet paper. The sheets got shorter. Not dramatically, just enough that a roll doesn't last quite as long as you remembered. Gatorade. The 32-ounce bottle became 28 ounces in 2022. The bottle shape was redesigned at the same time, rounder at the bottom, which made the smaller volume feel roughly the same in your hand. That last one is worth pausing on, because it wasn't just a size reduction. It was a packaging redesign specifically engineered to make the size reduction harder to detect. A 2026 analysis tracked a basket of well-known grocery brands over 6 years and found the average family is now paying around $741 more per year for the same household staples, with roughly $41 of that not from higher prices, but from receiving less product in the same packaging. And this is the part nobody talks about. That $41 figure only captures the brands they tracked. Multiply it across an entire household's grocery spend, and the real number is considerably higher. The question isn't whether it's happening. The question is, how did companies know they could get away with it? The answer sits inside a branch of behavioral economics called price salience. Price salience is the study of how visible and mentally available a price feels to a consumer at the moment of purchase. And one of the most consistent findings in consumer psychology research over the past 30 years is this: price changes are highly salient. Size changes are not. When the number on the shelf label goes from $4.99 to $5.49, something happens in the consumer's brain. A comparison fires. A reference point is activated. They remember what it used to cost. They feel the difference as a loss. When the number stays at $4.99, but the bag goes from 9.75 ounces to 9.25 ounces, nothing fires, because most people don't carry a reference weight in their memory. They carry a reference price. Companies have known this for decades. The academic literature on it goes back to the 1980s. But the post-2020 inflationary period pushed it from a strategy used occasionally by some brands into something approaching an industry standard. A study published in Marketing Science in 2025 confirmed what many researchers had long suspected. Shrinkflation functions as an effective obfuscation strategy, meaning it's not just that it avoids notice, it actively exploits the gap between how humans track prices versus how they track quantities. Peer-reviewed research from Yale found that firms strategically downsize in response to cost shocks specifically because they can model consumer inattention to size. They can predict it. They can price around it. And the packaging designers? They're in the room too. The bottle that got rounder at the bottom when it lost 4 ounces, that wasn't a coincidence. That was a brief. The product got smaller, the packaging got smarter, and the consumer got neither memo. But shrinkflation has a cousin, and the cousin is harder to see. It's called skimpflation. Same price, same package size, different product. A vegetable oil spread that quietly reduced its fat content by 7.5% in 2025. A packet of biscuits where the chocolate coating got thinner. A ready meal where the protein portion shrank and the carbohydrate filling expanded. The box didn't change. The weight didn't change. The product did. Where shrinkflation exploits inattention to size, skimpflation exploits inattention to ingredients. And since most people don't read the nutritional breakdown on a packet of biscuits mid-shop, the strategy works in the same way. The industry has a name for both of these, collectively, cost-out initiatives. That's the internal language, not we're charging you more for less. Cost out, as in we are taking costs out of the product. And the consumer is the place those costs are being removed from. By 2025, some major grocery brands had reduced product sizes by over 30% compared to their 2019 versions, without reducing prices. The average shrinkflation rate across tracked national brands sat at around 14.8%. That is not a rounding error. That's a structural change in what a dollar buys. There's one more thing about this. One thing that reframes everything you just heard. And it starts with a question someone decided not to ask out loud. The question is, what do companies actually know about this? Academic research from Yale estimated that approximately 98% of consumers are partially inattentive to product size changes. Not unaware, partially inattentive. The information is right there on the label. But at the moment of purchase, when you're deciding whether to buy the thing you always buy, almost nobody reads it. That figure isn't a side finding, it's the business case. Firms strategically downsize in response to cost shocks, specifically because consumer inattention to size is measurable. They can model it, they can price around it. And peer-reviewed research published in Marketing Science confirmed what the industry had long understood internally. Shrinkflation functions as an effective obfuscation strategy, not a lucky accident, a modeled outcome. France looked at all of this and passed a law. From July 2024, French supermarkets are legally required to display a notice on any product that has been shrunk while its per unit price has risen. The label must state the old quantity, the new quantity, and the exact percentage price increase per unit. France's finance minister called shrinkflation a scam. Then he made it illegal not to tell people about it. And when consumers are actually shown a volume reduction with the numbers, research finds they report significantly higher feelings of deception, lower brand trust, and greater purchase regret than they would from an equivalent price hike. Which is exactly why companies don't show them. In the US, the Shrinkflation Prevention Act was introduced in 2024. It failed. The companion bill in the House failed too. France made it mandatory to disclose. The US made it optional to hide. The US tried something similar, twice. In 2024, a group of senators co-sponsored the Shrinkflation Prevention Act, which would have required companies to disclose package size reductions and given the Federal Trade Commission the power to regulate deceptive downsizing. It didn't pass.
Neither did the companion bill in the House. Meanwhile, the U.S. Government Accountability Office published its own analysis of BLS data from 2019 to 2024. Its headline finding? Shrinkflation accounted for less than 1/10 of a percentage point of the overall 34.5% price rise during that period. Which sounds reassuring until you read the rest of the report. In the 5 product categories with the highest rates of downsizing, cereal, household paper products, and others, shrinkflation contributed between 1.6 and 3 percentage points to category-level inflation. In the categories where it concentrated, it was a meaningful driver of what consumers paid. And separately, 48% of American shoppers have switched brands because of it. 75% say they've noticed it. Among those who noticed, 81% took some kind of action, switching products, buying in bulk, or choosing a cheaper alternative. The strategy works precisely until it doesn't, and it's working less and less. But here's the thing about consumer awareness. It has to catch up to the practice, and by the time it does, the company has already banked the savings. Next time you pick up something at the supermarket, something you've bought 100 times, check the weight, not the price, the weight. It's printed on every package. If you don't remember what it used to say, that's not your failure of attention. That's the entire point. The companies running this strategy have spent considerable money understanding exactly which pieces of information consumers track and which ones they don't. They know your reference memory is priced, not weighed. They've built a business model around the gap. And the most striking thing about all of it, the academic research, the failed legislation, the French law, the numbers, is how long it took for anyone to formally call it what it is. Not a supply chain problem, not an inflation side effect, a design decision. The next video looks at something your salary was also designed around, and it's a similar story.